Nintendo is moving the goalpost in the patent infringement lawsuit against Pocket Pair, and I am going to take a sort of minor kind of victory lap with this because I sort of predicted it, that this is what they were going to be doing, but I didn't predict it in the way that they were doing it, and the way that they're doing it makes a lot less sense to me. But nonetheless, hey, I kind of guessed it maybe right. I put out a short that was saying, hey, I think what they're doing right now is making the patents intentionally vague and broad because there's a thing you can do in Japanese patent law. I don't know if it's something you can do in other countries' patent law. I don't know if it's something you can do in the United States patent law, but it's a thing you can do in Japanese patent law, which is get a trial of corrections. And what a trial of corrections is applying to change your patent. And you can apparently do this in the middle of a court case if you're worried that your patent is going to be found unenforceable by the court, because Nintendo has done this in the past. I discussed it in a previous video that Nintendo has done this in the past to win a lawsuit when the judge was going to rule their patent unenforceable. They applied for a trial corrections. They corrected the patent. But the only three things that you can do with a trial of corrections, the only three ways you can change the patent after the fact is to fix typos, to narrow the scope of the patent. So if the patent is too broad, if you're worried that the judge is going to say the patent is too broad, this is unenforceable, you can narrow the scope of the patent. And the third one is to clear up ambiguity. And what they have done doesn't do any three of those. What I thought they were going to do, what I thought they were going to do is they have the patents be very broad. They go to court. They see what defenses that Pocket Pair is offering against them. And then they narrow the scope of the patent, but they narrow it in such a way that it now targets the defenses that Pocket Pair is using, so that now they can basically directly respond to their defenses and say, well, no, now the patent is different. Now the patent is different, and those defenses don't work anymore, so we gotcha. Haha. Which one is just... side tangent, I don't think that's something that you should be allowed to do. I think if they want to allow you to do a trial of corrections on a patent in the middle of a lawsuit to change the patent, I feel like that should make the lawsuit immediately over and not be able to be tried again, because you had to change your patents. You had to change the thing that you were suing them over to make it applicable. But I guess that's not how Japanese courts work and not how Japanese patent law works. But that's not what they did. They didn't go for a narrowing the scope of the patent, and they didn't go for they didn't fix typos. And they didn't go for clearing up ambiguity either, because what they did seems to make the patent broader and more ambiguous. So they kind of did the exact opposite of the purpose of a trial of corrections here. And I'm getting a lot of this from a Games Free article, as well as a lot of the previous research that I've already done. But one, if I seem kind of out of it, I seem kind of, not all in it right now. It is 4:30 in the morning right now. I just couldn't sleep, and I was on my phone. I saw this article pop up. I read it. I was like, oh, I need to do a video on this. But here's what they did. Okay, so here's the wording that they changed in the patent. Here's the specific wording they have changed in the patent. And I'm going to link the Games Free article in it, and the Games Free article links a PDF that is a English translation version of what was done from the Japanese patent office. So it's the most official one you can get in the English language. But there's four corrections that they had. I'm only going to read the first one because it all kind of follows the same thing, and it would get really long and kind of repetitive and hard for it really to interpret unless you are like a patent lawyer if you get too far into it. But the first one's simple enough. In Correction A, in Claim 1 of the scope of claims before correction. So this is what the claim that they were asking to be corrected was before it was corrected. When the first operation input is performed while the player character is in the air, the player character is made to board an aerial boarding character, which is movable in the air among the boarding characters and is made to be a movable in the air. Is changed to, so this is what they are changing it to, what they got the correction for and got it approved, even if any boarding character other than the aerial boarding character, which is movable in the air, is the currently selected boarding character. When the first operation input is performed while the player character is in the air, the aerial boarding character is made to appear in the virtual space, and the player character is made to board the aerial boarding character instead of the currently selected boarding character among the boarding characters, and is made to be movable in the air. I'm not sure exactly. One, here's the big thing. Let's start with this. Changing a wording to use something like even if makes it more encompassing, makes it broader. One of the things that the Games Free article stated is that words like if and when are common in patent law because those are definitive statements, and it makes sense because that kind of reads the way code was. If this happens, then this happens, kind of thing. If or when this happens, this claim goes into effect. That makes sense. Those are definitive statements. Even if is a broad statement because that says all of this stuff could happen, and even if that happens, this is still going into effect. This claim is still going into effect, which is making this more broad, but also, even if any boarding character other than the aerial boarding character, which is movable in the air, is the currently selected boarding character, when the first operation input is performed while the player character is in the air, the aerial boarding character is made to appear in the virtual space, and the boarding characters... What that's getting at is... I don't like the wording, but what it's getting at is basically what it's saying is like, hey, even if I have this character, this is my aerial boarding character, my Van Worm is my aerial boarding character. Even if, and imagine the glider that I'm about to use is one of the PAL gliders that you used to be able to use before this went into effect. Even if I have that guy out, that is my current boarding character. He is selected, he is my PAL that is out, he's my boarding character. If I jump off this and then press the operation input button of spacebar, I still would get that. But in this case, it would be the PAL. So it would be the selected PAL that you're using as your glider PAL. That's what it seems to be getting at. And it's saying even if it's making it more broad. I'm not going to go into the rest of the corrections, but this is all just to state that what they are doing is changing the goalpost. What they are doing is making the patent more broad. They're not even using it doesn't even appear that they're using the trial of corrections the way that's intended. Narrow the scope, fix typos, clear up ambiguity. They are making this more ambiguous, more broad, and they are not narrowing that they're not narrowing the scope because they are making it more broad. They're making it more open to interpretation, more subjective. Let's ignore all the other arguments. I'm not going to go to all the other arguments. I have 1,000 videos on it. 1,000 other people have 1,000 videos on it. There's 1,000 articles about it, about whether or not these patents are justifiable or not, whether or not these patents should be allowed. Let's assume, just if you're one of the people that's watching me right now and you want Nintendo to win 100% and you're assuming that like they're completely justified, the fact that they are changing this patent is a move that they take when they are worried that the patent is going to be rendered invalid, when they are worried that the patent is going to be ruled unenforceable and they are losing. They make these moves so that they can adjust it and they can still be in the right and still potentially win the lawsuit. I don't agree with that from a legal standpoint. I don't think you should be able to change the goalpost in the middle of a lawsuit like that, but that is what they're doing. So now Nintendo is kind of saying that they're worried. There's a lot of people that were saying, oh, Pocket Pair changed the mechanics because they knew they were infringing upon the patents and they knew they were in the wrong, so they were going to lose, when that's not what they were doing. They were doing it to be in compliance so that they couldn't be told to stop selling games while the lawsuit was going on, blah, blah, blah. That it was a tactic move. Like a lot of people have spoken out about that. If that's what you believe, though, if you're one of the people that believes that Pocket Pair changed the mechanics in palworld in order to, because they knew that they were losing, the Nintendo changing the patent itself is because they know that they are losing. It is them changing it because they know that the patent is not going to win the day, that it's either unenforceable or that it doesn't target Pocket Pair in the way that they want it to, that they're losing on some grounds that they need to change it in order to counter Pocket Pair's arguments. So there's that. One, this is to me almost like Nintendo saying they're going to throw a Hail Mary here and see if they can change it and see if they can still win the day. Or, and this is one of the comments I get a lot, and it is obviously, like, it honestly, what is most likely happening here is Nintendo knows that they're losing the lawsuit. Nintendo knows that this was a lawsuit they were likely never going to win. They're just trying to drain Pocket Pair's funding and drain Pocket Pair's money and make this lawsuit so costly to Pocket Pair that they give up or they go out of business. I'm hoping my personal hope in this, I'm not sure about it. I haven't haven't seen anything specifically saying this, but my hope is that the fact that Pocket Pair teamed with Sony to establish palworld Entertainment, which is, basically licensing and expanding the IP of palworld, that since Sony has a vested interest in this, that Sony is helping with the lawsuit a little bit, maybe funding the lawsuit, maybe using their legal teams and stuff like that to help them out. The big theory about why this lawsuit is going on is not that Nintendo thinks they're going to win the lawsuit on the merits, it's that they think Pocket Pair is going to run out of money. And a move like this also just seems like another step in that direction. It seems like Nintendo is moving the goalpost so that now Pocket Pair's offered up all these defenses, and it's getting close to the time where like maybe the judge is going to say, yeah, no, Pocket Pair, you're winning, you're going to win this, and they're getting close to a judgment. And now Nintendo comes in, they've altered the patent, they've altered it in a way that somehow invalidates Pocket Pair's current defenses, and now they have to continue to adjudicate it based off of the new wording of the patent. So now Pocket Pair is having to spend more money on a lawsuit and spend more time on this and spend less money on development and just drag this out longer and longer, and that they're going to keep doing this until Pocket Pair gives up. That is kind of what to me is the most common sense thing that's going on here, and incredibly shady. But it's also kind of a sign, to me at least, and to some of the other articles and some of the other things I've seen on it, that Nintendo is aware that they are losing on the merits. That Nintendo is very aware that they are losing on the merits, and they're having to move these goalposts, which is a sign that it might be getting closer and closer to the end, because now they had to take that next step. They're having to take that step of changing the patent. So, their previous ammunition is gone. Now they're getting new ammunition for this. That's all I got on this right now. Again, it is, it's around 4:30 in the morning. I'm going to look at this again in the morning. I'm going to see if there's any more details about this, and I might put out an extra video, but I wanted to get this out. I wanted to talk about this because it's both a good and a bad sign for the lawsuit, because this is Nintendo saying they have to do something like this in order to win, but it's also Nintendo dragging out the lawsuit more. And if Pocket Pair isn't getting help from Sony and isn't getting a lot of their legal fees being covered by Sony, then this might be draining them more than okay. But they seem to be constantly putting out updates. They seem to be constantly making progress and doing collabs and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that it's good. But in the meantime, please leave a like, leave a subscribe. It really helps the channel. One, I like to see it. Every time I get new subscribers, it makes me really happy, even if you're not getting the notifications. On that note, turn on notifications for YouTube and for this channel. And I like getting the likes, and getting a lot of likes helps the video do better in the long run, so people see it more, so more people subscribe, and it makes me happy. As well, I have activated memberships. I'm slowly starting to put out, we're about to release one of our first member-only specific videos here soon. And we have some other stuff. It's all going to be on the screen here. If you want to sign up for a membership, that would be awesome. Right now, all the membership money goes straight to my editor, and effectively until we can get him to the point where I can hire him on to work full-time as my editor, all the membership money is going to go to him, as well as part of the ad split goes to him to compensate for his work and hopefully get him to the point where he can do this full-time. Because if he can start doing this full-time, that means we can start putting out videos a lot more frequently. We can start researching bigger videos a lot more frequently. We can start expanding what we do a lot more, because there'll just be the time to do it. So on that note, thank you. Have a nice day. I'm really tired. I need to go to bed.